Hi and welcome to one of my vintage i5 videos. Today we're talking about this Superscope R-1220 receiver made in 1976 and just 10 watts a channel, and what are my thoughts on this quite nice looking receiver. I think you'll find it is quite nice. The stereo light ain't lighting up here, but it does work. I'll show you a picture of that up on the screen, but there it is anyway. But yeah, it's only because I've got this aerial, this makeshift aerial up here rather than the proper dipole I use downstairs. Yeah, so the reception, you know, it does need a good aerial like most of these receivers. Some of them I get away with this aerial, no problem at all, like, you know what I mean, it's obviously got a bit of this on the station or whatever, but the stereo light comes on, but for this one here, needs a little bit stronger signal to get that going. Anyway, while I've got this up on the screen behind me, produced in Superscope, well, this is how they, you know, I like looking at how some of these companies evolve, how they started off. You know, especially with this old kind of stuff, and they've come forward and probably up. You know, when you bring it up today's like what's happening today, sometimes not for the better. You know what I mean? It's like obviously mass manufactured now. Maybe not so much care put into things, not unless you're paying top money for them and a small bespoke factory, rather than a multi-million pound or billion-pound company owning about 10 different makes and companies and whatever. But anyway, this is about 19. I will leave a link down below of how I got this information, a little read about Superscope, and it's a good little read. It ain't going to take you long to read through it, but I just find it interesting. You know what I mean? It's good to know a bit of a background sometimes how these things evolve, and you can kind of put yourself back into them years if you can kind of think, well, no, what happened back then, and how good it must have been maybe to compare, you know, to how it is these days. This world fast and furious thing kind of thing, you know, everything happening at 100 miles an hour. But anyway. About 1954, this company started, 54, 57 I think it was, started getting involved in doing prints for films, going through the prints and making, widescreen prints they used to do. And at the time there was a company called Superscope. I think we've all seen this on these old black and white films where it says produced in Superscope. It's usually right across the screen so you don't miss it. Well, these were produced in, Superscope. These were produced in Superscope, which is the same kind of process really, but just a cheaper version. This was more cost effective at the time, and a lot of RKO films, these old black and white films, used to use this, round about that time, 57, somewhere around there. 54, 57, something like that. And it wasn't until 1957 that this American company, Superscope, sent a bloke or a couple of blokes off to Japan, and while they was wandering about over there, they come across this company, Sony, at the time, and Sony was making these old I'm not too sure it was cassette recorders, it was making reel-to-reel tape recorders or portable recorders, and the benefit of the ones they were making, it had a built-in amplifier, so obviously a little speaker and that, so you could hear what you record and that, or recording onto it. And these blokes thought, this sounds good, I think we could sell this over in America. So they got the rights off of Sony to import them over to America and sell them there. And they used to have a badge, and you'll see it on the site where it said Sony and just underneath Superscope. And this went on for a few years, and eventually Sony kind of thought, well, we've had enough of this, we could do it ourselves and whatever. So they bought the rights back. In 1964, this Superscope bought a little factory called Marantz at the time, and this used to produce quite high-end audiophile kind of equipment. Only a small little firm, and these acquired the rights to and bought them over. And I'll take it what's happened is that the factory kept on going under the badge Marantz, even though it was owned by Superscope. And Superscope was doing their own little bits and pieces, and they said to them, well, if you can do like a Marantz receiver, obviously bring the cost right down to a basic model, and just stick our badge on it, Superscope. And this would be known as it is today as Superscope made by Marantz, and quite a lot of people say a poor man's Marantz. You know what I mean? You're getting into Marantz kind of make for small money, and it's a poorer cut down version, inside. Yeah, I've read that quite a few of these Superscopes made by Marantz. They've got a lot of Marantz boards inside them. Yeah, just something maybe to look out for. Do a bit of research, and you may pick up a Marantz innards, so to speak, in a Superscope case. Yeah, as you can see, they are, it does look very similar. This old fader control or balance control, quite similar to the 1040 2215, I think, receiver and stuff like that, and quite a lot of their stuff and the buttons and whatever, very, very similar to Marantz. I'll let you carry on. There's more to that story because they changed their name back to Marantz, and it was sold to Cobra, then Philips and whatever. Yeah, just you know, got a good little read that. It won't take you long to read through it. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off. I'm just going to quickly show you around the back because it's just a few little different things that I haven't seen really so much on other receivers and amplifiers I've reviewed or looked at. It's just a few variations of this. On this particular model, you've got the antennas here, you've got your auxiliary here, your phono, and it's sort of moving magnet or ceramic, and you've got your tape in and out. Unusual a little bit that your actual power supply, your mains is going in pretty much dead in the middle of the machine. A little bit unusual, usually it's to one side on amplifiers and whatever. And your two sets of speakers here, you know, two banks of speakers underneath each other, left and right, two channels. But I've noticed that this amp, it must be a few variations of it, maybe different countries, that this mains lead is over to one side, and also these speakers are actually across as well. You know, the two lots of speakers actually go across the back there, and it's quite a well made unit. You know, it's a wooden kind of veneer effect. It's quite nice. Now I think it's quite a nice looking unit. You know what I mean? It's quite a smart looking unit, all lit up and everything. It looks quite nice. Okay, so I've tried this out with pretty much all the speakers I've got, and I've also you know, obviously used vinyl mirror. Well, I've actually got two record players now, two turn-mic tables. I will put a video up on the one I just bought because it was a cheap one. Well, not that the other one was really expensive, but it's a cheap one, you know, just to look out for maybe, and things to bear in mind when buying a second-hand one. But anyway, yeah, so I tried it on both my turntables, I tried it on both my CD players, and obviously the radio built-in. And the radio built-in does need a fairly good strong signal, because I do use this bit of wire here, just up here, just to listen to, like say it myself, because I haven't really got room to put the dipole up, but I've got a proper dipole downstairs, like one of these wire ones. And then up here, the stereo light doesn't really come on all that often with this, which it does on quite a lot of the other tuners, so it's quite weak and, you know, picking up the stereo signal, I would say. But the radio sounds fine, it sounds nice, you know what I mean. I'm going to kind of give you a general sound, but the radio sounds nice, no problem at all, the radio. Obviously you're going to get this little bit of hissing and whatever with these old receivers, compared with a digital one where it's going to be no hissing at all. And CD was fine, you know what I mean. CD was fine, and the, you know, to be honest with you, the vinyl was really nice. The vinyl was really nice. I'm going to show you a picture here now. That's the inside. And that little box there is where the preamp, the preamp for the cartridge is situated, and it's all sealed up there. Now you don't usually get this on a low end. I haven't seen any anyway, but the ones I've got on a low end receiver or amplifier, where the preamp is actually sealed up and shielded in its own little box like that. Obviously, the more you pay, you're going to come across this, but it really took care of that, I think, there in that little shielded box. Just a nice touch there, where they could have just left it hanging about on the board somewhere, so to speak. So yeah, the vinyl sounded really, it's a bit on the low side, but it sounded really nice, the vinyl. You know, just had to crank up the volume just a little bit more on the vinyl. But it sounded really, it did really, you know, I was surprised, it sounded really nice, the vinyl. Now, how did this overall, I'm going to kind of give an overall sound now of this amp, how it actually sounded overall. This amp is a very sweet sounding amp. This is totally different to the Marantzes I've got. I've got about 4 or 5 Marantzes now, and I have been reading about it as well, and it seems that people have got this or had a receiver by Superscope or amplifier. It is a totally different sound. This, like I say, is a very sweet sound, this sound. It's a very nice, sweet sound, it is, but it's let down by a few little things, mainly the treble on here. This is across all of them. Yeah, it was across all of them. On the vinyl, I did notice that you could probably push it forward a bit more than you would on the others. But on a general kind of, so to speak, if you've got a bright pair of speakers, not that it's particularly really bright, but on the brightest side, you would not touch that treble. You wouldn't put it past 0. You wouldn't go 1, 2s and that, and you probably have it on -1. This treble here is a bit of a weird one, to be honest with you. You know, it's hard to explain, but if you remember the olden days when you used to have the Dolby, and you probably still do now, and you take the Dolby noise reduction system, and you used to play the tape with it off, and you used to kind of get that hissing kind of noise, and you put it on, then it gets rid of the hiss and it brings it up, and it sorts it all out for you. It's kind of like that. It's like you're playing back stuff with the Dolby off. Now, not saying you're going to get any hiss, but as soon as you start turning this up, it seems to turn up the very high frequencies. It seems to turn up the very high frequencies, and you're waiting, you're thinking, here comes the hiss, you know what I mean? You're waiting for that hiss to arrive, and it gets a bit mushy, you know what I mean? It gets a bit mushy. In the centre, maybe one either side, left or right, by 1, it's fine. But as soon as you start pushing it, it gets really mushy, and yeah, like I say, you're waiting for that hiss, so to speak. And it also, I mean, the vocals on here are nice. It's nice, you know, the piano vocals and the drums. It's got, you know, the bass is fine on here. The bass is it's not one of them basses that really push it too hard. You know what I mean? It's a bass that maybe on another amplifier. Well, no, you know, I was going to say on another amplifier, and it goes up to about number 3, and this kind of stops. This is where this stops, even though you've got a number 5. It isn't really. It's just like it's not a bad bass. It's a really nice bass. You know what I mean? The bass is like it's not overbearing bass. Its bass is there. It's a nice bass. It's not overbearing, the bass. So the bass is fine. That's fine. It's just this treble. Coming back to this, on the vocals and that, I've noticed on it. If you put it back to like minus maybe 2, the vocals come really inward into the speaker. The vocals, you know, you're pushing the vocals right back into that speaker more than you would on any other amp that I've got here, I would have said. And when you're pushing it to +2, you're pushing them out, but then, you know, it's fine pushing them out, it's fine, but then you, like I say, you're getting this kind of mushy sound as well with the treble. So the vocals are okay, but the treble, you kind of like I say, it's getting mushy. You're waiting for that hiss that's kind of coming. It seems to, you know, when you're going to stack up the frequency, well, this is changing. Most trebles may change about here. That, you know, the frequency of that particular frequency, it starts expanding it like there. This one seems to pick a right higher level, then it starts expanding it like you would be. You know, that's just, it's hard to explain, but that's how it kind of felt. So after saying all that, you're probably going to think, well, I didn't like it, but I did. I really liked it. You know what I mean? As long as I keep it there, and I keep, you know, like I say, the bass is fine. You can play about on the bass as much as you want, really. But as long as I keep that there, one or plus or minus, depending on speakers, just by one little notch. I liked it. I really did. Like I say, the vinyl was fantastic. I thought it was fantastic. I really did. I thought the vinyl sounded really, really nice on there. You know, the amp's detailed. It sounds all round. It sounds nice. You're going to pay about £70 for this. Obviously, there's other bits and pieces, but it's a cheap man's Marantz. There's other amps you can buy for 70 quid or whatever. But I think you'd be hard pressed to get a Marantz receiver for £70. That's for certain. You know, if you bought their I don't know, an equivalent kind of receiver by Marantz, I don't know if they go down as low as 10 watts, but maybe they're 15 watt one or something. You're probably going to pay nearly £200. You know what I mean? You're going to pay 150 thereabouts, over double the price. So yeah, for 70 quid, I recommend it. You know, I do definitely recommend it, as long as you know that your treble, you are kind of like limited on the treble, I would say. You know, this is only my taste. This is how I hear it and how I like hearing it, like you and me. So you know, some people may be fine. Then they may like it really bright and really like, you know, all of a sudden it's going to sound like, you know, that hiss is going to come in, but it never does. But you feel like it's going to. So yeah, if you're one of them kind of people, that's fine. The bass is, like I say, no problems with the bass. Volume wise, I have this set up, and here it's fine in number 1 and 2 in a small room like this. That's fine. Downstairs, I put a bigger pair of speakers on it. I like getting it to a nice loudish level, which is about number 4. Then I like to get it what you call a rocking level, like where you feel like the house is rocking, like, you know what I mean, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying all the windows are vibrating and plates are throwing themselves off the shelves or nothing like that, but just like quite a loud, filling up the whole room. You know, thinking, oh, maybe the neighbours may complain, kind of thing. It's a bit too loud, that kind of level. Number 5, you've got to have this amp on to get that kind of level. Like I say, with the vinyl, yeah, definitely 5. With CD, it depends on, like, the vinyl was just a little bit less, like, you know, a little bit lower in volume wise, the vinyl, but maybe it's something to do with my cartridges, I don't know. But just seemed a bit lower on this amp anyway compared to others, so I would have said it's the amp. Okay, so that's it. So yeah, all in all, I recommend this amp. I really do. I do like it. It's a nice looking amp. It's got quite a lot going for it. Just like I say, that little niggle on the treble control there, really. So that's it. So I'll say thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you all soon.